There's more to it than just the woodworking here. Going up to the dome, this is all millwork as well, which coordination-wise, obviously electrical, you can see the air returns, that was all incorporated into that. These are basically ribbed walls that was fabricated in our shop, along with the crown molding below and what have you. So everything had to be lifted up into there in parts and pieces. Kind of as you move down to the larger crown molding and bulkheads that are all sitting on top of the columns, that crown molding is like 18 inches deep, where it's big enough to where you can actually, there's a picture of me here in the shop where I'm laying inside the crown molding. That's how big that was. The installation of all that between the lighting, dealing with the structural columns, working around the granite columns, and the installation was, pretty unique. The curves of the profile of the crown molding, and then on top of that, this not just being straight crown molding, you have the radiuses to deal with. So the back of this piece, sits like this. Up above here where there's lighting and everything else, we've had custom steel brackets made that bolted back to his structure. And then we had to make another plate above that so the lighting would sit on that to get you the right reflections for the lighting and what have you. And not to mention just the elevation benchmarks. We had to nail it with the multi-tiered bulkheads here, everything kind of spoking back to the columns back there. So there was multiple levels of things that just had to be coordinated and dead on. The reveals were inlaid in the panels before the veneer went on and then routed out. So this is actually all veneer construction. It's not parts and pieces that was put together and then glued together. So you have a higher end product. It was probably one of my favorite projects that I've ever worked on. I knew from day one just the details on it that it was a winner, but then the obstacles that we had to go through to get it to where it's at. You look back and it's something to be proud of.
Basically, the project consisted of demolition and reinstallation of 4 curtain wall areas, 2 here in the public space, approximately 5,500 square feet total. Some of the challenges were obviously an active gallery. The general contractor built an interior wall that had to stay waterproof, watertight, airtight. So basically it was scaffolded all the way up with an interior wall that was sealed to the interior stone, and we worked basically on the outside of the gallery. The T's that you see on the exterior side, that encapsulates a 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch thick steel plate horizontally and then vertically, which couldn't be removed because it's integral to the structure of the window. At all the verticals and all the horizontals, it's solid steel framing. So we removed the existing curtain wall off that framing, and then utilizing that framing, installed the new material.
We also found lead-based paint, which had to be abated, and they were attaching the scaffolding system to the framing system, so they had to do that in addition to all of their own work.
These 2 areas were installed with the tower crane, which was set up on the south side of the building, but still blind. So that was a challenge. He couldn't see. It was all radio communication to install units. These units, the heaviest unit is 1,800 pounds, give or take, so almost a ton on the biggest, heaviest unit. So challenges with finessing a unit that size in place.
Some of the interesting aspects of this project were there was 50 different types of light fixtures with some 500 and some light fixtures and 500 some foot of linear light fixture, all compressed into a 16-week schedule Approximately 10,000 man-hours involved in lighting and 4 lighting control systems, I believe. 2 ETC systems, a lumen pulse system, and a Lutron daylight harvesting system. A change towards the end of the project condensed a 6-week change into about a 2-week project, which was the second ETC system. I called in an extra 12 men to get that done. Among the 50 different types of light fixtures, many of those were pendant fixtures and or sconce fixtures, which are a lot more difficult to install than per se a lay-in 2x2 fluorescent or a downlight. So some of the installations and the layouts were a little outside the box, I would say. Took quite a few men and quite a lot of ingenuity to come up with some of the things we were doing.